Today's video is all about shelf lighting. Thought I'd go over what I use, why I use it, and the process of putting it in. So if you want to learn more about this, stick around. Now that I have these shelves set up, I thought it is time to actually add the lighting to the shelves. I'm not talking about the overhead lighting, that'll be for another day, but the actual lighting that goes inside of the shelving. And let you guys know what I use, kind of some of the reasons why I use that type of lighting, and kind of walk through the process of how I do it. So, the lighting that I like to use in these shelves are these under the cabinet lights. So they're designed for going underneath your kitchen cabinets. And one of the main reasons I really like using these type of lights is you can just find exactly where you want to place them. And then they're very flexible as how you need to connect your next light. So there's a wire that goes in between each light. Kind of an example here of a couple of lights here. But these wires you can get in all different sizes. So as you see here, I've got 9-inch, I got 23-inch, there's a 39-inch, there's a 5-footer, a 6.6-footer, and then all the way to 10-foot. So it's very flexible as far as where you place this light and where you want to place the next light. You can go pretty far and run it all on the same power source. Or it's also flexible where you have these interconnects. So here's kind of an example. If you just wanted one long light strip, you can use these interconnects. Flip it on real quick. And then that makes one long light strip. Now, there wasn't something that you can buy to attach to this. I actually made what I attached to it myself. Basically, it's a 2x4 that I cut at a 45-degree angle. And at my old place, I used to have various things like this hanging on the walls and pointing at the stuff that I wanted to light up. Now, I guess the second benefit is that these are electric, so you don't have to worry about charging or whatnot. They do have where you can make it brighter or dimmer, which is actually very important. You want to kind of have things lit up at the right light intensity that you want. And then with a smart plug, you could control things that way. Some of these have options to control it with a remote, others do not, but we'll kind of get into that. Now, the downside of using these type of lights is they're one particular color. So typically you can either get them in a white light or like a daylight or a warm light. So there's really no option to switch the type of light that these produce. And of course there's no color, so you can't change it to red or blue or green or whatnot. So if you wanted that type of ability, I did see that some lights that are similar to these have that ability, but they didn't have the greatest reviews. So I did not go that direction. And in reality, for displaying lights under these type of shelves, I really don't need that ability. But yeah, I'll kind of go through what you all get with these lights what's some extra steps or stuff that I buy that I use to connect this stuff, and then yeah, we'll actually get them put in and see what it looks like in the end. So here are the different lights that I have. I have a ton of these Albrilo. I don't think they sell them anymore on Amazon. And then I also have these Abu, or however you pronounce it. Now, these are very similar. They're a little bit shorter. This is like 12 inch, this is like 11 inch, but they do have the same connections. These don't get quite as bright, but they're still a pretty good replacement. And well, I'll show you guys in a little bit. The warmer temperatures, these definitely look more warm color than the warm color on this. But still, they're a decent substitution, and they came with some good options for the different wires that came with it. Now, I have a bunch of different power adapters, and this kind of becomes important depending on how many lights you're trying to connect with one power adapter. So these little 1 amp power adapters, they used to sell these in either a 3-pack or a 6-pack. The 3-pack, it came with a 1 amp, so it can safely power those 3 lights. But the 6-pack came with the 2 amp. And then they also stated that, hey, we've got this 3 amp power adapter you can buy separately, and it can safely power 12 lights. But what I found is, whether I use the 2 amp or the 3 amp, once I could connect 7 of these lights together, and the uniformity of the brightness looked pretty good. But once I connected that 8th light, I can really tell it started to affect the brightness of the 7th light, maybe even the 6th light. Even the whole strand itself, it may bring the brightness down a little bit of a notch. So the longer away that light was from the power source, you know, the worse it got. So there's no way you could connect 12 with this 3 amp in a series, but the brightness of that 12th one is going to be a lot less than the brightness of that very first one. But these particular lights did come with this power splitter. So your power source goes into here, but then you have an individual light strand on each one of these. So I did find, using this paired with the 3 amp, that I can run one strand of 7 on one side, another strand on a 7 on another side, so then I can get all 14 lit up using one of these 3 amp power things. So basically, when I'm setting these things up, if I gotta go over 7 and I want to use just one power adapter, I'll go with the 3 amp and I'll use this splitter. If I'm going 7, or say between 7 and 4, I'll use this little 2 amp. And then if I'm only going to use 3 or less, I'll use this little 1 amp. And these lights, I found you can go actually one more. They're not quite as powerful. So when I was saying 7 before, you can probably go 8. So you can add one more light to the string with that. Now, the other thing it comes with are this, which controls, well, it'll actually turn on the light, but it'll dim or make it brighter with this little wheel. So when you're installing this, you want to make sure you kind of put this in an area that you can get to this wheel pretty easily to adjust the brightness. Or there was also a remote option. So these lights either came with the wheel, or they had a version that was remote option. And with the remote option, it does the same thing as the wheel, but you actually have a remote control that you can, turn it on or off, or control the brightness and all that. The problem I have with this remote is I have so many that I plan on installing that this runs on the same frequency. So when I'm using the remote, it's going to control everywhere I've got one of these. I can't switch the frequency, and I really don't want things that way. Now, you may want things that way. You may want one remote to control everything, and then that's fine for you. But for me, I want certain things to turn on when I hit a button versus everything turning on. Now, some other things that I have here, part of my install. One, some type of surge protector. I kind of like these that space things out, so you got plenty of room to do different plugins, because these always take up more slots. It's also nice to have some USBs in case you have something that needs to be powered by USB, which actually on that shelf I do have something that is USB. And as far as hiding wires, a lot of these things, it's a pretty good lip. So in reality, you can attach things to the top and not really see anything. But if you really want a clean look, these wires aren't that thick. So I get one of these 1-corded black cable hiders, and then I can use, I just use my miter saw to cut it to whatever size I need to cut it to. And then I can use this to hide whatever wire. Now, a lot of times they come with like these little clips that you can use that have the 3M tape, but I'm not a big fan. These things usually fail over time, and I just don't want to deal with it. I'd rather secure it, and I guess these things usually do come with some type of 3M tape, but a lot of times I'll drill little holes on each side and use little screws to also secure them. So that way I never have to worry about it ever falling off again. So I like to get it done right the first time. And another thing that I like using are these remote control outlet sets. So these just work off this remote control. And basically the remote control just either turns this outlet on or off. So what I plan on doing is, I know that the amount of lights that I got to get on these two displays is going to take 2 of these power adapters. So I'll plug both of these power adapters in this splitter here. I'll plug that into here, and then anytime I want to turn on the display rack, I'll program this to one of the buttons. And these seem to, I use them in my old place. They work really well. They work from far away. So I'll have multiple of these throughout the room, and it'll control different things. So I can give you a quick show on how this works, since I already have a few of these plugged throughout the room. So like right now, this number 1 is programmed on those Harry Potter shelves way back there. So if I turn it on, you can see it turns those shelves on. The number 2 I've got plugged right on this ET remote, or the poster. So you can see it lights that up. And then this number 3, I've got programmed to turn on this Back to the Future stuff right here. So when I hit the remote here, there it goes. I was testing out how many lights I can hook up with the power adapter. As mentioned before, with this type of light, I can hook up 7. Once I hooked up the 8th light, you can kind of tell that it was affecting the 5th and the 6th light, making it a little dimmer. And then the other type of brand, I found you can hook up 7 pretty reliably, and then once you hooked up the 8th light, it was kind of affecting the other colors. I did a little video, but it was kind of really hard to tell on the video itself. So I guess you're just gonna have to trust me on that one. And then I did hook up a white light here. Sorry, the camera is just really picking up a lot of glares. This stuff looks better in person, but you can tell that this light is the white light, whereas that light here is the warm light. And for the most part, I prefer the warm, but on certain things, I may want the white light. In fact, I'll play around with this crystal skull. I did, when I made the base for this, I did put a router, a slot in here for a light to slide in underneath so that it'll light up this skull nicely. And actually that will probably look better with the white light. And while I got these all hooked up, I can kind of show you how the dimming works. Like right now, it's on the brightest. So let me go ahead and slide this wheel. So that's where it's off, but you can go pretty dim. Again, the camera's not picking it up near as well, but you can go really dim, you can go really bright, which is nice. So let's hook everything up the way I want it and do a test out before I actually install it. First thing I had to do was decide how many lights I wanted and where I wanted to put them. So I think pretty much on each shelf. Now I've got things displayed on the side here. So I want one to go underneath here. I'll have one here, one here, one here. So that's 4. I'll have one here, 5, one here, 6, one here, 7. And then I need an 8th one that goes in that slot underneath the skull. So I need 8 there. Here I'm gonna need 3, another 3, and then 1 on the side. So I need 7 for the middle, and then I need 1 there, another 3, and another 3. I really don't need any side lights on that. So the top area I need 7. So I need 8, 7, 7. So that is what I did here. I've got 1 strip of 8 lights. And since I thought that this skull at the end is going to be the 8th light, that I'll use the white light on that. So that strip will start there and then end here. And then I've got this other strip of 7 lights, and that will end up starting right there, 3 there, 3 there, and then I've got 1 last strip of 7 lights, which in reality, what other side I want to start it on, I'll probably start it here and then run it down here. And then to hook it up, I used a 3 amp that goes to this splitter that does these 2 strips. And then I used a 2 amp to go into that other strip of 7. And then I used that 1 to 3 prong splitter to go into one of those remotes, and then I programmed this to be number 4. So if I hit the off, it turns everything off. Hit the on, that turns everything on. So now I know everything works. Now is the hard part of actually installing all this. just wanted to show, since I'm going to be installing lights on multiple shelves and chances are have the same type of configuration, I created this, what you would call a jig, or kind of like a template. So that way, when I get the next shelf, I can just grab this thing. I know that I want the lights to be this close to the front and I want them spaced out this direction. So I just need to know where to put the brackets at. So I created this thing and marked exactly where I want each one of the brackets. And then you can kind of see where the light, that's kind of hard to see, but right here where the light ends. And then, so when I got the next shelf, I can just quickly use this template and have the same exact lighting configuration without having to re-go through the measurements and things to that nature. I got a lot of scary stuff in my collection, but for me, the scariest thing is a bunch of wires showing everywhere. So now that I got all this hooked up, I kind of got to figure out how do I want to hide these wires the best. Now I'm going to have everything the power down low, and a lot of the wires can go behind here. This will be pushed back, so that'll hide most of the wires. But then I've got wires going up. So I think what I plan on doing, I've got this cable raceway, and I'm gonna attach it to here, and then the cables that are going down can go hidden in this raceway. And then I also want to have access to these dimmer switches. So I'll probably put one dimmer switch here. I've got another one here. I'll probably put it down low here. And I haven't showed this before, but I like using this 3M trim tape. I think it's actually made for like car trim, but this stuff is super sticky. Once you get it on, it's not going to come back off for the most part. At least I have never had an issue. In fact, it's kind of hard to get things off once you got it attached. But I don't want to ever have to worry about this ever coming back off. So that's what I'm going to use. And yeah, so that's the next step. Try to kind of hide the wires the best we can. I also wanted to mention on this cable hider, for each shelf to run that wire to the lights, I had to put in a hole big enough to fish the cable through. And the way I do that is I use some painter's tape it together here. That way it keeps these two things together as I'm drilling through. Otherwise they would like to come apart. Then I'll use a drill with a smaller bit to do the pilot hole, and then use like a spade bit to make the hole the size I need it. Now this particular one was just a tiny bit too small, so then I used a bigger bit just to make it a little bit bigger. But anyhow, thought I'd mention that's how I make the holes, and next is just to get everything hooked up and we'll see how it looks. All right, I finally got everything hooked up. Thought I'd show you guys the accessories, how I have it where it's set up, where if you hit the number 2 on the remote, this little Jurassic Park display case will light up, the poster box will light up. There's also a game, Jumanji Games console on the side there, which you really can't see from this angle, also programmed to this number 2. So if I hit number 2 here, you can see those things light up. And then number 1, turn that off. I have both sets of lights programmed to number 1, and in reality I also went ahead and got my Back to the Future thing set up, so it's also programmed to go on with number 1. So if I hit number 1 here, big reveal on how these shelves look. Yeah, mission accomplished. Lights up the shelves nicely. This looks a little bit blown out, but in person, the effect looks really awesome. Again, I kind of routed with my router a little section here where I can slide one of those lights underneath the skull, and it gives it a really cool lighting effect. But yeah, these lights worked out really well, and for the most part, I got all the wires hidden, or at least mostly hidden. Now, one other thing that I did end up doing, once I had everything lit up, you can kind of see the garage shelf, the kind of the rivets of the garage shelf. And I thought, well, what can I do there to make it look a little bit better? And what I ended up doing, you can kind of see them there, is I installed some gaffer's tape. So I did it there, I did it there. You can kind of see I did it on that side, so you can't, I didn't do it on the bottom one yet. But I think it looks, makes it look a little bit more custom versus a garage shelf. You may ask, well, why choose gaffer's tape? So this is like gaffer's tape here. Get it in the light a little bit better. But the reason I went with this, one, the color is a really close match. Two, this stuff is really easy to tear. And three, it's not reflective. So I didn't want a lot of like duct tape and stuff like that is reflective, so this light is just going to glow against it where this stuff has a real matte finish. We'll see on longevity. It seemed pretty sticky. I guess the fourth bonus is gaffer's tape also comes off easy, and it's not supposed to leave any type of residue. So we'll see long term how it works, but I think, you know, there's nothing really straining it or anything, so I think long term it should hold up just fine. One thing also I wanted to mention with these remotes is you can program each one of those things to work on this all on all off command. So for instance, I'll hit the all off and everything turns off. And right now on this control, I think I forgot to mention this number 3 turns on the time circuit. So I got the time circuit, I've got the poster, the Jurassic Park thing, and then I got all these lights. But if I want everything on, I can just hit the all on. Yeah, Cinnamon gets a little excited when she hears those time circuits go on. I can just hit that. And then if I want everything to turn off, I can just hit all off. Or if I just want the lights on, since I got everything programmed on number 1, let's take it all off, there it went. I can just hit 1 here, and then all the lights are on. But yeah, again, you can get something with a smart plug and all that, but sometimes for me, you know, you say, hey Alexa, or hey Siri, whatnot. She doesn't understand exactly what you're saying to turn on, and then it just gets a little frustrating, or I gotta find my phone, I gotta open up the app and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes it's just easier to have a remote that controls everything right here, and this remote has like really good range. So that's just the way I kind of prefer things. Maybe I'll change my mind in the future. Well, I'm hoping this gave you guys a few good tips. And please, if you guys have some good tips, leave them in the comments. I'm always looking at ways to make things better. And, you know, let the good ideas flow and just throw them out there. But appreciate you watching another video. Until next time. Hey guys, I appreciate you watching another video. I'm a huge fan of home theater and these movie replica props. I'm going to put out a couple of videos each week in those areas. And if you're a huge fan like I am, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.